Hey, Mark here, Old Spartan Fitness. Listen, I want to go over this free resource here. It's called the Ultimate Over 50 Fat Belly Blaster, also, or sometimes called the Ultimate Workout. I put this together a few years ago, actually several years ago. I want to go over it because these are great exercises that I've highlighted here, but it may not necessarily be for you, depending on your current fitness level and whatever else is going on in your life. So it's not really a beginner workout, but I'll give you some context on some of these exercises, how you might either make some changes or what to be careful of as you as you go through it. So the first exercise on here is the farmer's walk, which really just means walking under load, carrying a weight, either carrying a weight like shown here. That's a traditional farmer's walk with the two-handed carry. You can do it with one-handed carry, which is called a suitcase walk. You can have the weight racked up by your chest. That's kind of a racked carry. There is an overhead carry, like a waiter's walk, but be careful of that one because you really got to have good shoulder mobility, and you run a risk of hurting yourself doing that one. But any kind of carry, you could carry a sandbag on your shoulder. You could hug something to your chest and carry it. Even things like pushing sleds. Your wheelbarrow full of weight, that's all kind of under this type of workout where you're under load and moving. Very good exercise, very seldom done. This is probably, if you could do one thing that you're not doing, I would pick this one. And this is something that you can do because no matter what your condition, because you just select the load that's appropriate. If you're out of shape, you start with some light weights and take it from there. So definitely you want to add some farmer's walks. The deadlift, a great movement, maybe one of the best. But again, there's some technique involved here. And, in the over 50 community, we tend to be, we have injuries, we have aches and pains, we have a lot of mobility problems. This requires you to have pretty good, hamstring and hip mobility to get in the right position. So I don't recommend, folks just go out and start deadlifting with a bar like as shown here. There are other ways to do it. You can start with, again, light weights. You can start with some dumbbells or kettlebells, and even doing the hip hinge movement, just the movement itself without any weight, is a good place to start. There's something called the hip hinge drill where you're just try to get this motion down. It's kind of a learned motion to get that proper hip hinge. So I would do a little research on, if you haven't been doing any lifting, definitely don't jump into a standard straight bar deadlift like this. Work into it. Again, Google something called the hip hinge drill. Dan John, if you find him, he explains it. That's a good place to start getting that mobility in the hamstrings and really learning the movement. Once you understand the movement, it becomes far safer to load it down. The squat, everyone should squat. This type of squat here, this is called the goblet squat with that front load, holding a dumbbell like that. That's a perfect thing for most people. Again, you could just start light. Certainly just start with body weight with no additional weight. But once you start to load it up, this is a good way to do it, having like what's called a front loaded squat. So the weight is out in front of you. It makes it easier to get down on your heels without falling forward and things like that. So front load, it's good. Again, everyone should be able to do this. Now, you might have some mobility issues being able to get down into a full squat position. That's fine. Go, start in half squats. One thing you could do here is start with some wall squats, just squatting against the wall, kind of get into that 90-degree bend with your legs and just with your back against the wall and just hold it like a isometric hold for a while. That's a good starting movement for the squat, but you definitely want to do squats of some variety. Sprinting, super good exercise. Again, not many people doing this. Certainly, there's some risk here. Of getting hurt, you can really pull a hamstring, pull an Achilles tendon. So be careful when you're first starting out sprinting, especially if you haven't been doing anything or any kind of running. But work into it. Don't be blasted off the line like you're racing Carl Lewis or something. You want to, what I do when I sprint is I kind of gradually, on the first couple of steps, I'm just gradually picking up the pace and then move up into whatever level of effort I'm doing. I very seldom would say I'm sprinting at 100% of my effort, but you can go up 60, 70, 80% as you get more warmed up, as you do it over time, and you're feeling confident that you're not going to get hurt. One thing you can do that's helpful when you're first starting out, or for any workouts, is kind of sprint up a hill, like a slight incline hill. Really helps to keep you from overstriding, which is one of the things that can sometimes get you into that pulled hamstring. But sprinting, very good. I would add some sprinting to your routine. The thruster. This is an exercise that basically combines the squat. You see it at the bottom there, the squat. And this is a front loaded squat. He has a bar in the front, and the overhead press. And it's really it's a metabolic conditioning exercise. Takes a lot of gas to run your engine when you're doing this one. But it's super good. This is a great exercise, like if you want to add to end of a workout to really, do a little endurance type training. And there's also an anaerobic effect to it as you start to add weights. You can do this with a bar like he's got there. You could do it with dumbbells, kettlebells, any kind of load that you can hold there up against the chest. So front squat and overhead press, that's a good one. And again, if you start light, even start like this with just a bar or something, you should be able to progress without any issues. I thrown in the car push here. This is, like I said in the beginning, this is kind of in the farmer's walk category. This is moving under load. I push my car around occasionally. Obviously, you want to really be careful with this when you're starting out, because when you're trying to get that car moving from a dead stop, there's a lot of strain on your Achilles and things, and if if you got some issues there, you could hurt yourself badly. So take it slow. Try to find a level lot, but this is good. You can really get yourself a good workout pushing cars around. Now, let me jump ahead here. I'm not going to go into that slide, but I do list some of the how to sort of put together exercises in this little PDF. It's this is just examples. Again, if you don't really, if you haven't done a lot of lifting and you're looking at some of these exercise names, you don't even know what they are. I mean, a couple of things. You could Google them, and you'll definitely find videos of them. Or I think at the end here I have a little. But you can set up a call with me, and I can go over sort of explain anything to you and how you might put together a workout from these exercises. But here's some. What I'm showing here is that there's basically the 5 human movements, what we call push, pull, hinge, squat, and carry. That's really what we just showed in the previous slides. And then so basically you want to get all those movements into your workout over the course of a week. So what I'm saying here, you might want to program farmer's walks a couple times per week, and there's different ways to do it. You can do long and light, heavy and short, and other substitutions that we've talked about. Same thing with deadlifting. You get it in maybe a couple times a week, maybe a heavy day. A kettlebell swing is that hip hinge movement that could satisfy another day, and maybe a light day where you're doing more reps. Same thing with the squats. So you can different types of squats, and just to mix it up. But there's unlimited ways to build a workout that's effective. This is just some ideas for you. In summary, maybe you want to hit it 3 days a week. 2 days is fine. 3 is probably better, but in the beginning, if you're just getting started, do whatever you can do. And I'm just giving you some other ideas about alternating on the push movement that says alternate between overhead pressing, and horizontal pressing, which is like bench pressing or push-ups, things like that. The pull is something, this tends to be a problem for a lot of older guys, because they can't do the pull-up. The traditional sort of body weight pull exercise is the pull-up, which most people can't do because they're either too heavy and weak, or a combination. So, you have to get some other ways to get that pulling movement in there. There's a lot of ways to do it. In the gym, if you're going to a gym, they have a lot of machines that are good for this. But at home, you gotta come up with some various ways to do it. There's a suspension system that allows you to get some of that variety in. But you definitely want to get some sort of a pulling movement in, deadlifting, squatting, and you're carrying. So, again, I have some example workouts here. I think these are pretty self-explanatory if you go through them. This is not the only way to do it. This is just a way you might start. Again, here's if you come to this last page and click this link here, it'll take you to a little calendar of mine. If you want to set up and just have a quick call and talk about programming or anything fitness related, I'm up for that. I set up a little 10 or 15 minute call and we can do it. But that's the overview. These are great exercises. Just be careful if you're really deconditioned, tone it down to get started, because injuries just mess up your whole program. All right, thanks.